And myself and Mrs. W, we find ourselves growing more and more potatoes in these tubs. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you why. Hello and welcome back to the Newdig Norfolk Gardener. Now, we've grown potatoes for many years, and for a lot of years we grew them in these plots. But what we have found is that they take up so much space, and especially the main crop, they are in the ground for such a long time. We've only recently become converts to growing potatoes actually in tubs. One of the reasons for that is because trying to find varieties that are not going to be harmed too much by blight has been a problem. But over the years, different varieties have been bought out that you can try and are supposed to have a certain resistance to blight. The other thing, of course, is that when you grow them in the ground, Mrs. W never gets them all out.
Oh, excuse me, who doesn't?
If you look here, you can see that potatoes that have been there probably a couple of years or so, all of a sudden, they're now starting to germinate. Volunteer potatoes. And of course, they go on to cause quite a lot of problems, because when you go on to plant something else in there next year, especially for something like an onion or a salad onion, which are quite small, all of a sudden these big old potatoes suddenly come up. And you think, how am I going to get rid of those? Because I've actually pulled the potato plant up. I'm going to actually take half the crop that I've grown in there. One of the questions I get asked more above any other is that, yeah, I can see you grow some in some tubs. I still grow mine in the ground, but it's going to cost you a fortune in compost. And that is a consideration. So, let me tell you exactly what myself and Mrs. W do. So the first thing we're going to do is to harvest our potatoes, Mrs. W.
Look at those beauties.
Look at these.
That was just 2 seed potatoes, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And this is a variety called Sapomeru, which is specifically bred to be resistant to blight. Now, we were concerned that perhaps the taste wasn't going to be as good. And to be quite honest with you, there are better tasting potatoes, I will say that. However, they are not horrendous. And actually, you get this harvest because they've been unaffected by blight. And the ones that we actually planted for a Christmas harvest, they all got blight, didn't they?
They did, unfortunately, yes.
In just a few short weeks, we had a particularly very humid, warm and damp September, and they just got the blight, and they're gone. These, however, went through the same month. They've been in those tubs since late April we planted those, wasn't it?
And they stood next to the Christmas potatoes.
Yeah, the ones that had blight.
Yeah.
But these have been unaffected by blight. So for me, I can actually live with the fact that they're not the greatest tasting potato in the world, but I do have a harvest and I don't mind them. Now there are some different varieties in the Sapu range now, and I'm going to be trying those next year to see if they are any better. But back to the here and now, we have all of this compost which has grown those potatoes. And actually, the compost is okay. This is one of our compost bays. All I'm going to do is to add it in there. There's a potato there, Mrs. W.
Mr. Potato. Who was it, did you say, who misses the potatoes?
You, I left you in charge of that while I... And then all I do is to mix it in with our current compost heap. And actually, the organisms, they will get to work on that and it will become rejuvenated. And if you actually watch any of our videos on growing potatoes in tubs, you will know that I have just simply used our own homemade compost. So by adding each tub once I've harvested the potatoes to the compost heap, actually I got rejuvenated compost and enough to grow exactly the same amount of potatoes again the following season. Still got many tubs of these potatoes to come. So don't be afraid to recycle the compost that you're going to grow your potatoes in. It will recycle really, really well. I won't need that again until March when I replant potatoes, and I'll have plenty of time to get much more life back into it. And once again, we can grow some amazing potatoes like we have this season. If you like what we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and then you'll be notified, especially if you click the bell icon whenever we upload a video. Do let us know your comments. Have you done this? Do you recycle your compost if you grow potatoes in containers? Let us know your thoughts on that. Have a great gardening week. And myself and Mrs. W, we shall see you very, very soon.